Hello everyone, my name is Matt Keys. I'm from Melbourne in Australia, and today I'll be doing a presentation on myself, a little bit about Melbourne and Australia, and about myself as a young child growing up. Over here is a photo of me when I was a little child, and here is a photo of me in Year 12 at high school. So Year 12 in high school is the equivalent of S3 over here in Taiwan. So today I'll start off talking a little bit about myself. I'll then move on to talking about Australia and a little bit about Melbourne. I'll then proceed to talk about my primary school, my high school, my university, and my professional work. So my career as an accountant working at PwC. And this is a little photo of me when I was a child. So me today, I'm currently 23 years old. I'm studying a Bachelor of Commerce at Monash University, majoring in Accounting and Finance. I'm also working at PwC. So PwC stands for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'll touch on PwC a little bit later in my presentation. Some of my hobbies include sport. So some of my favourite sports are AFL, cricket, golf, basketball and tennis. Another hobby of mine is spending time with my friends. I love hanging out with my friends and having a good time. So, a little bit about my family. So I have one brother, his name is Chris, and he's my older brother. So this is a photo of him here, and this is me as a little toddler. So he's 3 years older than me, so he's currently 26 years old. I have 5 cousins. On my dad's side, I have 3 boys, Tom, Harry and Charlie. All 3 of my cousins on my dad's side are younger than me. On my mum's side, I have 2 cousins, Will and Alice. Will is pictured here with me. And I have a girlfriend, her name is Pearl, and her Chinese name is Ching Ching. So these are some photos of me and my girlfriend. So over here is a photo of us at the races in Melbourne. Going to the horse races in Melbourne and Australia is very, very popular. It's a great way to go out for the day, socialise with friends and have a good time. So this is a photo of us at the races. Over here is a photo of me and Pearl about 3 years ago, and on this particular day we were at a cafe in Melbourne and it was her birthday. A little bit about Australia. So Australia has a population of 24 million. This is Australia here, and as you can see, all the major cities are all located on the coast. So the majority of the population, so the majority of the 24 million people that live in Australia all live on the coast. Not that many people live inland. Everyone lives near the coast. So the capital of Australia is down here. It's called Canberra. So many years ago, when they couldn't decide what the capital of Australia would be, they were deciding between Sydney and Melbourne. So they couldn't decide, so they decided to put it roughly in the middle. So Canberra, that is the capital of Australia. Australia is known for its beaches, its wildlife, so all its animals that we have, and its multiculturalism, which I'll touch on in a little bit. Over here is a little photo of a koala, one of Australia's more famous animals. So here are a couple of photos of Australia. So at the top here, you have 2 very famous beaches. So the first one here, this is Bondi Beach. This is located in Sydney. And as you can see, it is very, very popular. So not only do a lot of locals go to Bondi Beach, it also attracts a lot of tourists. So very, very popular. Picture over here is the Gold Coast, which is just south of Brisbane, so in northern Australia. Also a very popular stretch of beach. So a lot of people, a lot of locals and also a lot of tourists are attracted to this beach. Down here we have some of Australia's more famous animals. So probably the most popular and well-known animal is the kangaroo over here. And we have a wombat and a platypus. So to give a bit of perspective on how big Australia is compared to Taiwan, you can see pictured here is Taiwan, very, very small compared to Australia, which is much bigger. But it's quite fascinating to think that the population of Taiwan is about 23 million, and the population of Australia is pretty much the same at about 24 million, even though Australia has a lot more space. So some well-known foods that Australia is known for. So we have Vegemite over here. Vegemite is a spread that is applied to bread, or pretty much anything you want to spread it on and then eat. Personally, I do not really like Vegemite. It doesn't have a terrific taste. A lot of people in Australia will either love it or they'll hate it. So I fall into the hate category. Over here we have Weet-Bix. So Weet-Bix is a popular breakfast cereal. So this is it over here, and you have it with milk. And a lot of people might add honey or some fruit to their Weet-Bix. Again, this is not something I'm particularly fond of, so I don't have Weet-Bix for breakfast. Over here we have what's called a chicken parma. So this is a very popular meal to have for lunch or dinner when Australians are going out to eat. So it is basically fried chicken, a chicken fillet, cooked with cheese, ham and a tomato sauce on top. So it's very nice, and it's always served with chips and a little salad. Down here we have a meat pie, which is very popular in Australia. Basically a meat pie is just a small little pie, probably about that big, served with minced meat inside and tomato sauce on top. Over here we have fish and chips, also a very popular dish in Australia that is typically ordered as takeaway from a restaurant. And finally we have sausage and bread, which is very popular at Australian barbecues. So they'll have a sausage served in a slice of white bread with tomato sauce and some cooked onion. Again, very popular. So some more sweet dishes or items that Australia is known for. First one over here, Tim Tams. Very, very popular and a favourite of mine. Chocolate biscuits. Very sweet, but also very nice. Down here we have pavlova, which is basically a sweet cream meringue served with fruit on top. Very popular dessert. Over here we have lamingtons, which is a favourite pastime of many Australians, and it is a soft texture and is often served with jam inside. Personally, not a favourite of mine. Over here we have fairy bread, which is always served at kids' birthday parties. So it is very simple. Just white bread with butter spread on top and sprinkles, so sweet candy on top. A little bit of Australian slang. So in Australia, a lot of the time when we're speaking, we will shorten the words. We will abbreviate the words. So common words that we'll abbreviate, biscuit. So instead of saying biscuit, we might say bicky. Another one, breakfast. We might say brekkie. Present, present, vegetables, veggies. So it's a common theme that will shorten these words into E. Bicky, brekkie, prezi, veggies. So we do that to a lot of the words we say sometimes. Another common one is afternoon. So instead of referring to the afternoon, we might just say the Savo or the Arvo. Again, shortening the words. Another popular one and well-known slang in Australia is instead of saying hello, a lot of Australians might say g'day. But this is typically said by people who are living in the country. So in the cities, not as many people will say g'day. They'll just say hello. So a little bit about Melbourne. So Melbourne is a 9-hour flight from Taipei, so it's not very close. It's a long way away, Melbourne. Melbourne is known for its multiculturalism, its sport, its coffee and cafes, and its volatile weather. So multiculturalism. So multiculturalism is when an area or a city has a lot of different cultures in it. So Melbourne has a lot of different cultures. So a heavy Asian influence, so Japanese, Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, a lot of different Asian people live in Melbourne, but also a lot of Indian people, Sri Lankan people, Italian people, Greek people. In Melbourne, you'll find a lot of different cultures. So if you want to go out for dinner and you are craving a certain cuisine, in Melbourne, you're most likely to find that cuisine because we have so many different cultures here in Melbourne. Sport. Melbourne is very popular and very well known for its sport. So a lot of people in Melbourne really love their sport. And it is often referred to as the sporting capital of Australia because Melbourne hosts a lot of major sporting events. So these are some of the sports that we have in Melbourne. So AFL, Australian Football League, NRL, National Rugby League, we have the A-League, which is soccer, cricket, golf, the Melbourne Cup Carnival, which is horse racing, the NBL, which is the National Basketball League, and the Australian Open, which is tennis. Also very famous for our coffee and cafes. So Melbourne is known around Melbourne and the world also as having very nice coffee. So Melburnians are often referred to as snobs when it comes to coffee because we only like our coffee and any other coffee that we have is not as good as the coffee that we can have in Melbourne. It's very nice. Melbourne is also known for its volatile weather. So in Melbourne, the weather is always changing. So you might wake up one morning and it might be rainy and cold, but by the afternoon or by the arvo, it will be really hot maybe. So the weather is always changing. So the summer and winter times in Australia and in Melbourne are the opposite to here in Thailand. So Australia's summer is from December through to February, and that is the time here in Taiwan when it is winter. And our winter in Australia is the same time as Taiwan's summer, so June through to August. So Melbourne is known for having 4 seasons in a day. So like I said before, sometimes the weather might be really hot at a particular time of the day, and then shortly thereafter, it will turn for the worse. It might get really rainy. So it's always changing. So sometimes we have 4 seasons in a day. So some of the major sporting events that we have in Melbourne. We have the Australian Open, which is tennis. So this photo here is of Rod Laver Arena, the big tennis stadium. We host the AFL Grand Final. So the AFL, the Australian Football League, the Grand Final is held in Melbourne at this stadium here, which is called the MCG, which stands for Melbourne Cricket Ground. So here at the MCG, on Grand Final day, there will be 100,000 people that will come to the stadium to watch the game. So very popular. Another major sporting event is the Melbourne Spring Carnival. So in late October and early November, every year, in Melbourne, they will have the Spring Carnival, which is horse racing. So over 3 weeks, Melbourne will host a lot of big horse races. And as you can see in this photo, a lot of people turn out. It's very popular. So the big race is called the Melbourne Cup, and that is held on the first Tuesday every November. And on Melbourne Cup Day, you'll often have over 120,000 people head to the racetrack. So a lot of people, very popular. So here are some photos of Melbourne of different perspectives. So over here we have Flinders Street Station, which is a well-known monument in Melbourne. So this is the central train station in Melbourne. So all the train lines, whether they're north, west, south or east, they will converge into the central station in Melbourne. So this station here, Flinders Street, hard to see, but it's just here, the yellow building there. So all the train lines will come into this station, and that's where people will get off and go their separate ways to work in the city. Over here, we have a close-up picture of some of the big stadiums and sporting structures we have in Melbourne. So we have the MCG here, we have Amy Park here, and Rod Laver Arena, which is the big tennis stadium over here. So here are some photos of me in kindergarten. So when a lot of young boys are young in Australia, instead of their mums taking them to the hairdresser to get a haircut, a lot of mums will simply put a bottle on top of the kid's head and then use scissors to cut around. So it's called a bowl cut. So when I was young in Melbourne, in Australia, I was given a bowl cut by my mum. So you can see here, it's quite popular. A couple of other kids also have a bowl cut. So this is me in kindergarten, sporting the bowl cut haircut. So my primary school. Primary school that I went to was Canberra South Primary School, which is pictured here. I began when I was 5 years old, starting in prep. And I was at Canberra South Primary School for 7 years. So prep, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7 years. So each day at primary school we'd start at 8:45 a.m. and we would finish at 3:15 p.m. So school in Australia is a lot shorter than here in Thailand. During our school day we have a 1 hour lunch break and a 30-minute recess break. Every year in primary school you would have the one teacher for the whole year. Every week you would have 1 hour of each of these different classes. So every week you would have 1 hour of PE, 1 hour of art, 1 hour of library, this is library class here, and 1 hour of music and 1 hour of Italian. So at this particular primary school, Canberra South, the language that we learnt in primary school was Italian. Some more photos of me in primary school. So over here, this is a photo of my first year at primary school in prep. So pictured here is my teacher, Mrs. Bergfield, and I'm sitting right next to her just here. Again, with a nice bowl cut. So the high school that I went to, Trinity Grammar School. So I began Trinity Grammar School when I was 13 years old, attending from year 7, which is the equivalent of J1, to year 12, which is S3 here in Taiwan. Again, the school day in Australia is a lot shorter than what it is here in Thailand. So we begin at about 8:15 a.m. and we would finish at 3:15. So we would have, during the day, we would have 6 50-minute periods, a 20-minute recess, and a 50-minute lunch break. In year 11 and 12, so S2 and S3, we would have shared classes with Ryton Girls' School. So Ryton Girls' School was an all-girls school that was located very close to us. So Trinity, being an all-boys school, we didn't have any girls at our school, obviously. So in year 11 and 12, we had shared classes with the girls' school that was close to us. In high school, unlike here in Taiwan, you do not need to achieve a benchmark score to graduate. So in Australia, if you get a really bad score in your final year in year 12, you still graduate, but you just graduate with a bad score. You do not need to achieve a certain score to pass or to graduate. So, university. I'm currently studying here at Monash University in Melbourne. Like I said earlier, I'm studying a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in accounting and finance. At university at Monash, there's 2 semesters per year. 12-week semesters, and then after the 12 weeks, you'll have an exam for each subject. So commerce subjects have 3 contact hours per week. So those 3 hours per subject are split in between a 1-hour tutorial and a 2-hour lecture. So every week, I would have 12 contact hours. 4 subjects, 3 hours per subject. The scoring structure at university is split as it is here. So if you score between a 50 and a 60, you will receive a P, which is a pass. 60 and 70, you will receive a C, which is a credit. 70 and 80 will get you a D, a distinction, and 80 and 100 will get you a HD, a high distinction. So typically in Australia, anything above a 70, so a distinction or a high distinction, is regarded as a good score. So here's some more photos of me and my friends. So this is a photo of me and some friends at a football game in Australia. This is a photo of me and a friend at one of our houses. This is a photo of me and some friends in Germany at a beer festival called Oktoberfest. And this is a photo of me and a friend just being a little bit silly. So professional work. So my career started as a professional at PwC. So PwC stands for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and PwC is one of the big 4 accounting firms. The big 4 accounting firms, all of which are global firms, are PwC, EY, KPMG and Deloitte. So all these firms are global companies that have a presence all over the world. So PwC in Melbourne, we have 5 major divisions. We have audit, consulting, deals, private clients, and tax. So the division that I worked in was audit. So whilst I was working at PwC, I was working 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Every Wednesday I would have the day off to go to university because I was studying 2 subjects a semester. This photo here was taken from my very first day at work in 2015. To get into the building at work, you need to have a key pass that buzzes you into the building. So on that key pass they have a photo, this photo here, and then a little buzzer which would get you into the building. Here in Taiwan, PwC is well represented and in 6 locations depicted here in this map. So PwC is located in 157 countries all around the world, so it has a massive global presence with 776 locations, so all over the world. Here in Taiwan, there's over 2,700 people employed for PwC. So here at the school, there is roughly 2,000 girls attending the school. So imagine all those girls, plus a few more, working for PwC. So a lot of people. And this is only just in Taiwan. This map here shows all the countries around the world where PwC has a presence or has a location, has an office. So you can see that pretty much all around the world. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa, and through the Middle East as well. Very, very strong presence. 157 countries, all highlighted orange. So here's another photo of Melbourne. This is the CBD. So CBD stands for Central Business District. So in this area where a lot of companies will have their offices. So just here, might be a bit hard to see, is PwC. So this is where our building is in the city. This photo here is from the other direction. So this is the building that I was just talking about. This is our whole building. So 12 months ago, we moved across the road. We moved from this building here into this new building here. So a very nice location, located right next to the river. Very nice office. Here's some more photos of me. This is a photo of me in Hong Kong at the races, Happy Valley. I really like the horse races and I enjoy going to watch them race. This is a photo of me and my girlfriend again in Hong Kong at Lions Rock. So a very nice aerial view of the city. This is a photo of me and some friends in Prague. So a couple of years ago, me and these friends here, we went to Europe and did some travelling together. And finally, this is a photo of me and a friend at a music concert in Melbourne. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.